So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, the Detroit Lions have arrived in Indianapolis for the NFL Combine this week, but that does not mean they are not still making moves within the organization to improve the team for 2022. In today's episode of News and Rumors, we are going to be going over the coaching changes that have appeared over the last week, as well as some defensive changes that Dan Campbell has alluded to, and a potential hint at where the Lions might be looking with some early picks in the NFL Draft at a certain quarterbacking position. So that being said, and without any further ado, let's start off with the coaching changes. Now, with the Detroit Lions, they haven't officially signed or hired any new coaches, but they have moved some coaches around to different positional groups, and there are a couple of people that will be coaching different positions in 2022 opposed to 2021. The biggest of which is Kelvin Sheppard, who was the outside linebackers coach a year ago, coaching guys like Romeo Okwara, Julian Okwara, Austin Bryant, and had a really tough job with the constant rotating door of outside linebackers at his disposal. But overall, I thought did a very good job with our young talent, allowing Austin Bryant and Julian Okwara to both make some splash plays, with really this being both of their first true healthy seasons in the NFL. Kelvin Sheppard is somebody that, first off, played formerly in the NFL, was a third-round pick out of LSU in the 2016 NFL Draft class, played a couple of years for a couple of different teams, had a couple of turnovers of like over 400 tackles, had a pretty solid NFL career overall, but called it quits after the 2018 or 2019 NFL season, and last year became an official member of the Detroit Lions coaching staff. He coached the outside linebackers, but this year, after Mark Delhomme, the linebackers coach from a year ago, was fired, Kelvin Sheppard will officially be moving to the inside linebackers coach to try and help develop guys like Derek Barnes, Jalen Reeves-Maybin, Josh Woods, and any other linebackers that the Detroit Lions decide to either re-sign or sign/draft in this upcoming offseason. Kelvin Sheppard is somebody that, again, was a former NFL linebacker, so he has that experience to share with the players, but he's somebody that at the Senior Bowl really connected with the seniors. He's somebody that really connected with the players at the Senior Bowl. They really liked him. They were talking really, really highly about him, and I think Kelvin Sheppard is just a player's coach. He's somebody that players enjoy playing for, and that's why Dan Campbell hired him. He's somebody that does his job very well, somebody that Coach Campbell absolutely raves about every single time he gets to talk about him, and somebody that just truly connects with his players and gets his players to play hard for him. That's, in my opinion, the biggest factor on being a successful coach in the NFL, whether it's a positional coach, an assistant coach, or a head coach at this point, right? Connecting with your players, getting them to play hard, and teaching them the correct things are some of the biggest things that you need to do well as a head coach. And I think connecting with them is the biggest thing, because regardless of what you teach them, if they don't want to put in the effort for you, then they're not going to play very well. You have to get your players to love you as a coach if you want them to succeed with you coaching them. And I think that's something Kelvin Sheppard does incredibly well, being a younger head coach and being a former player who not that long ago was wearing the same jersey that a lot of the rookies are going to be wearing very soon. So he moves to the inside linebackers coach and is, I think, a really good move for the Detroit Lions, giving him a bigger role and giving him more of an impact on the organization as a young up and coming positional coach in the NFL. And then the Lions, in the wake of Ben Johnson leaving the tight end positional coaching to become the Lions' official offensive coordinator a couple of weeks ago, the Lions have promoted offensive quality control coach Tanner Engstrand Engstrand, I believe is how you say it, to the official tight ends coach. I don't have a lot of information on Tanner at this point, but all I know is he is the new tight ends coach, and I think that, at this point, Ben Johnson probably had a hand in selecting him on who to promote. And again, it is another coach that was brought up through the ranks and another promotion within the Detroit Lions coaching staff. Again, kind of reinforcing the fact that they're building this culture of, if our coaches leave or if our coaches get promoted, the next guy in line is somebody that's already in the door, and then we'll hire somebody else at the bottom of the chart, right? We'll hire somebody else to be that quality control coach. We'll hire somebody else to be a new positional group. But if there's a chance for a promotion and we have a coach that deserves it, we're going to promote that coach instead of looking outside the organization. And in my opinion, this is going to go a very long ways if this process continues, right? With your tight ends coach becoming your offensive coordinator, with your outside linebackers coach becoming your linebackers coach in general, with your offensive quality control getting a positional group to coach. With these in-house promotions, it's going to start building that culture, and it's going to start building a really close-knit and strong coaching staff for the Lions to lean on in the future. So I'm really excited to see how this shapes out. I think Kelvin Sheppard is a great move, giving him more to do, giving him a larger responsibility after he did a really good job a season ago and did a phenomenal job, might I add, at the Reese's Senior Bowl down in Mobile, Alabama. Now, getting into some of the rumors that we have seen over the past couple of days. First off, I want to talk about the defensive scheme change, because although we don't have a lot to go off of, Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, and I think even a little bit of Aaron Glenn, has been very adamant about something needing to change on the defense, and we got a little bit of a hint of what that might look like in the first rounds of interviews at the NFL Combine, where Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes say they want to run more four-down linemen. They want to run more of a 4-3 defense with a four-man front more consistently. That, of course, is going to help you stop the run. It's going to limit the amount of outside linebackers you have on the field, which could be interesting and could be something to take into account as the offseason continues. But they want to run more four-man fronts, right? They don't want to have just three down linemen. They want to have 4-5 linemen at a time, which at times last season they did run a three-man front, especially late in games. I know the Baltimore, where they had their big play, Minnesota in the first game where they had their big plays, a lot of those were three-man fronts with 8 men in coverage, and it just simply doesn't work. Quarterbacks are too mobile, they're too elusive for 3 guys on 5 to get home more than once a game, more than a couple times a season. You can't consistently rely on 3 guys at a time. You have to essentially rush 4 or 5 guys at a single time in the NFL. And the Lions say they want to put more emphasis on putting more bodies on the line, putting more people on the box, and first off, stopping the run, but also off of that, getting more pressure on the quarterback with just a 4-man rush. And then I've also heard a rumor that they are expected to add at least 1 defensive coach, whether that be an assistant or they still have to sign an outside linebackers coach now, I believe. So there is room for new additions to the coaching staff, but I've also heard a rumor that they are expecting to hire at least 1 defensive coach before the offseason officially begins, before the free agency frenzy officially kicks off. And then Dan Campbell had quite the quote for the Lions media when being asked about this year's quarterback class. Now, although Dan Campbell obviously didn't say, okay, we want Malik Willis, we want Sam Howell, we want Desmond Ridder or this guy or that guy in this year's NFL draft, he did kind of hint at what they might be looking for with a future signal caller and with a future starting quarterback. And the big key points of this are, first off, he has to have a high ceiling. Dan Campbell made it very evident that this guy has to be able to develop and grow as a quarterback, both mentally and physically and as a player. He has to be able to grow and develop as a player, because if you don't have a ceiling, you're not going to draft a rookie quarterback to play at a rookie level for 15, 20 years for your NFL franchise. You want somebody that can grow and develop into somebody that is the best quarterback in the NFL, not just somebody that has a low ceiling. So Dan Campbell put a huge emphasis on development and growth as a huge part of what they look for in a quarterback. So for right away, that kicks out a couple of guys with lower ceilings in this year's NFL draft. Another thing that he put in was grit, somebody that has to have a lot of grit and has to be able to get back up. As he said, have moxie and have the ability to just keep going, work through things, and have that grit in an NFL game when things aren't going your way, how is that quarterback going to respond? Again, I think that eliminates a couple other guys and cements a couple different people into that quarterbacking position. He also put a huge emphasis on the fact that they have to be a smart quarterback, that they have to read the game, that they have to be able to, function in an offense that is structured, whereas, they talked a lot about mobility, and they kind of even staged the question towards like, okay, quarterbacks have been moving towards a more mobile system. What do you think about that? And Campbell's big response was, okay, it's great if they can run fast, but they also have to be smart. They have to be able to maneuver in a pocket. They have to be able to read a defense and make the right throw and make the right decision when everything is on script. And having that ability off script to scramble and make a big play with your legs and your mobility is huge for Dan Campbell, but he thinks it's a bigger factor that the quarterback has to be smart and read the defense and make the proper decisions on script so that those off script plays don't happen as often. And then the last thing that Campbell really, really wanted to emphasize was the quarterback has to command the huddle, right? He has to be able to command 10 other players to run their routes, to block their guys, to play their positions at a very high level. And you have to have a quarterback that can command those 10 guys, right? You need a commander-in-chief. You need a leader in that huddle that can bring everybody together. And when things aren't going well, settle everybody down and get them on the right track. And when things are going great, you need a guy that's going to support his teammates and be that guy who's going to be the first player to give him a high five, be the first player to celebrate with them in the end zone. That's the kind of guy that Dan Campbell wants. He wants somebody that's commanding. He wants somebody that is a leader. And I think, again, that leaves us with just a couple of quarterbacks that the Lions could be looking at. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I think as far as the high ceiling aspect of this interview, I think that it really eliminates Kenny Pickett and Desmond Ridder. Those are guys that I think are higher floors. They're safer quarterbacks in this year's draft, but in my opinion, they don't have the ceiling of a Malik Willis or a Matt Corral or a Sam Howell, right? I think their athletic ability just simply limits them, and it's not that they're bad quarterbacks, it's just that I don't feel that they have the most room for growth when it comes to developing as a quarterback 2-3 years down the road. Now, as far as being a smart quarterback, I think the other three quarterbacks, Corral, Willis, and Howell, they're all smart, but as far as reading the game and getting to the second and third reads, I've seen that a lot more out of Willis and Howell. I think that Matt Corral can do it, and I think the only reason we haven't seen it is because of the system they ran at Ole Miss, being a primarily one read and throw it, or one read, it's not there, and you scramble, make a big play with your legs. I think that's just the system that Ole Miss like to run. I think that's the system that Corral is the most comfortable with. And that doesn't mean he can't read a defense, but with the Lions having worked with Howell and Willis both at the same time at the Senior Bowl, I think they have a much better insight on these guys, on how well they can develop, how well they can learn, their grit, their command of an offense. And again, I think that their ability to coach these guys down in the Senior Bowl is going to really be impactful for what Dan Campbell is looking for, because unless you really coach a player, it's hard to tell what their grit is. It's hard to tell how smart they are. It's hard to tell how commanding they are in a huddle, because you can hear stories, but until you see it for yourself on the football field, it's really hard to tell if that's the kind of commander you want. It's really hard to tell if that's the kind of leader you want, or if that's the kind of quarterback you want in the locker room and in the quarterback's room, learning and growing, and if that's the kind of guy that you can build around as an NFL franchise. So for me, I think the top three options are still Willis and Howell. I think they fit all of these descriptions very well, and the Lions have had an opportunity to work with them. I think that Matt Corral is kind of a dark horse if he somehow falls because of the injury. Personally, I don't see him falling very far because of his sprained ankle, but it's always possible. Again, Corral for me fits the grit, he fits the high ceiling, and I think he commands a huddle very well. The only thing I've yet to see from him is that ability to really read the defense consistently on a third, fourth, and even sometimes fifth reads. Not that he can't do it, but it's just something that I've seen more out of Willis and Howell than Matt Corral. So with that interview, it leads me to believe that the Lions could be leaning towards a top-end quarterback with high potential and the ability to learn and command a huddle. With all that being said, that is all for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think about the positional changes, and let me know what you guys think of the hints that the Lions have been dropping over the past couple days at the NFL Combine. Do you think the defense is going to change? Do you think the Lions select a quarterback in the first round, or even early, or do you think the Lions select a quarterback in the first round, or maybe even at number 2? Let me know what you guys think about that down in the comments below. With all that being said, that is all for you guys today. Thank you all so very much for watching. Until next time, and as always, go Lions!